Hey, good morning to you. Our devotion today is the authority of truth, and our verse is James 4:8. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Now, as we look at Oswald Chambers' devotional, which we're going to pull a few quotes from, Chambers wants to really address how we follow God, how we go after God, right? How, when he says, come to us, how is it that we follow? What does that look like? Both God calling us and us following him. But before we talk about that, I just want to read the entirety of the verse, or at least a verse or two before and after, just to give the context of the passage in our minds. The book of James, verse 7 says, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Grieve, mourn, and wail. Change your laughter to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." And even before that, he gives the famous verse of God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And so James is dealing with how God exalts someone and also how he resists someone, right? So we're to turn from sin. He resists the proud. We're to basically mourn and repent. And as we turn to him, then God lifts us up. Then God will be the one to, if you will, be on our side, right? That he gives grace to the humble. Now, Chambers says this: when a truth of God is brought home to your soul, never allow it to pass without acting on it internally in your will, not necessarily externally in your physical life. Record it with ink and blood. Work it into your life. The weakest saint who transacts business with Jesus Christ is liberated the second he acts, and God's Almighty's power is available on his behalf. So what Chambers really wants us to realize there is when we act to follow Christ, that action sets in motion the action of not only us following Christ, but it is really a response to God working in our hearts, and we respond in faith, and then God sends the power of the Spirit upon us. And so he says when God moves to bring something in your soul, he uses that strong phrase, record it with blood and ink. Don't forget what God is trying to show you or bring about in your life, or forget about it. You need to act on it. I think that's good, right? He'll say one more thing I want to quote here. He quotes Jesus in Matthew 11:28, and he says, when Jesus says, "Come to me," okay, when he gives that call, "Come to me." Chambers says his word "come" means to act. So when Jesus says "come to me," that is a call to action, right? Come means there's an act. I must come. Yet the last thing we want to do is come. But everyone who does come knows that at the very moment the supernatural power of the life of God invades him. The dominating power of the world, the flesh, and the devil is now paralyzed. Not by your act, but because your act has joined you to God and tapped you into his redemptive power. Let us think on that. We'll see you tomorrow.